3 months just for the Arabic market. This will come to about 1.2 million. I'm not even quite certain whether we will sustain those markets, besides the local markets. And that has been our main challenge. We could be grappling with issues of insecurity, we could be grappling with issues of private farm invasions, but that's not the major problem. Actually, we could be dealing with some macro issues, things to do with explosion in livestock population, issues to do with global warming, on drought that affects livestock movements. We could also be dealing with political issues, because in any case, there are times when we were grazing all the way to Mount Kenya at times without much antagonism. So we could also be dealing with issues that are not inherently livestock related, and that is where we come from. We want to, moving forward, to invest in livestock because there is a lot of potential, and as I said, once we open up markets, once we streamline issues on livestock feeds, once we streamline issues on disease control, I'm quite certain there is a lot of potential in livestock. And we saw this coming. In my first term, our first initiative was to invest in transforming livelihoods, providing alternative livelihood sources, because we knew that with this trend, livestock per se could not be sustainable entirely as a livelihood source. That's why we went into tourism. That is why we established additional conservancies, of course with the challenges of insecurity. And now going forward, as a food security initiative, we also don't want our cows to be away from the household. Because at the end of the day, issues to do with malnutrition, issues to do with the under fives, if this livestock is away from the homesteads, these households will suffer food insecurity. And that is now why we're also rolling out a more resilient livestock keeping practice, providing camels that is entirely around the household in the entire year, irrespective of the drought situation. That is why we are investing heavily on alternative livelihood, particularly on tourism, conservation programs. We are now hoping to go into the second phase of tapping the hotel industry, of course with the challenge of insecurity. And I'm happy the C79, my brother from Laikipia was talking about, we were with the DP last time and he's committed that we will have tarmac from Lerata. Of course the RAPSET program will cover eventually, but it may take some time. At least now we have commitments to have some of those roads tarmacked. We're also happy that the tarmac is going all the way to Maralal. This will open up also the infrastructure we're talking about, the interrelation between counties. And I'm sure we'll work together. This is just by the beginning. 100 million from the KCB Foundation and the matching fund would not be enough. We carried out a major offtake program in partnership with NDMA sometimes last year. It was quite effective through the Ministry of Livestock, and we were able to take quite a number of livestock. If we go by what we have at the table today, we were buying at about 18,000 shillings per cow. The current program, that's about 2,700 cows per county, which is quite little. Of course, we may need to also talk through NDMA, talk to the national government, the Ministry of Devolution, Ministry of Livestock, to see how we can consolidate together with the few resources from the counties and enhance this program. As we also look for ways of sustainable ways of handling issues to do with these cyclic droughts. Of course, on enterprise fund to Jiajiri, we've committed quite an amount, particularly to the women and youth enterprise funding. As of the end of last year, we've spent close to 66 million shillings to enhance accessibility to business, particularly by our youth and women groups. And this was one of the ways also of providing alternative livelihood. And I'm quite sure it's also another big potential area for partnership. And as a county government, we are committed also to invest and carry on capacity building is very critical.
Indeed, we are live for you in different parts of the country. The function that we've just given you excerpts of is at City Hotel, the launch of the Amaya initiative. That was Samburu Governor Moses Lenol Kulal addressing those present there. This is a forum that has brought together 4 governors from Isiolo, Laikipia, Baringo and Samburu. They've converged to talk about how this initiative can help them in terms of selling their livestock and averting conflict as well. We'll keep bringing you highlights of that meeting as and when we get a chance. We're also live in Uasin Gishu County, where John Wanyama will give us an update regarding a move by the High Court to allow hawkers to continue trading in Eldoret town. How did the court rule in their favor? And of course, what is the reaction of the county government? And we're also live for you in Nyeri County, where Marty Munene will be telling us about how a 250 million shilling stadium project has stalled because of power lines. Very interesting there, and we'll be going to Nyeri County for that update as well. But let's now take you to Uasin Gishu County, Eldoret to be more specific, where John Wanyama tells us that it's a good day for the hawkers there. The court has given them the ability to continue selling their wares on the streets, and we've known that for the better part of 2018 there has been quite some tension between the county government and hawkers. John Wanyama, tell us a little bit about how the court came to that decision and the reactions of the county government and the hawkers as well.
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Maura, and here indeed in Uasin Gishu County, as you've said, I'm at a so-called West Market. This is a particular market where the county government has said that has located, has put some space for those who are hawking in town to come in this particular market where they will be now doing their daily business. But surprisingly, Wahiga, yesterday the High Court ruled or gave an order to Uasin Gishu County government not or to allow hawkers to continue with their normal businesses in the CBD, and something most of hawkers are happy about with that information, that the court really gave them that order to continue doing their normal business in the CBD, something that we are yet to get from the Uasin Gishu County leadership to tell us maybe what do they have to say about this. And with me, I'm with the business director, Uasin Gishu County, Mr. Leting. Mr. Leting, if we can come close to me here.
Yes, sir.
You've really tried to ensure that you remove all hawkers from town.
Yes.
Now, the what do you tell about this? What is your take about this court order?
Now, I want to say very clearly that the court order, as they said, that the hawkers should remain in designated places, areas only. And in Uasin Gishu, we believe that the designated area for all hawkers is actually in West Market and not in back streets, as those ones who have gone to court have actually tried to allude it. So what we have said is that because the court has said let the hawkers remain in designated places and let them continue paying, we have decided to relocate all hawkers to this market called West Market. And so far we have received 750 hawkers who have relocated to this market, West Market, because it's the only designated place in Uasin Gishu where hawking activities are going to be confined. And we have a very good response both from the traders, the small traders, the hawkers, and also the people of Uasin Gishu who are supporting us in the streets to make sure that all the hawkers and traders come to this particular place.
But meanwhile, are you going to respect this court order for them to continue to be in the designated places where the court has really ordered?
The court order has been respected even when the hawkers are already in West Market, because the court order said let the hawkers remain in the designated places. And one of the designated places was West Market. The back streets expired in 2016, where we designated for only 3 months. But the hawkers had been in street illegally. So because we have been given an opportunity to challenge it in court on 2nd of February, what we have said is that the only designated place which we have actually agreed with the hawkers officials through a participatory process that all the hawkers to come to this place is going to remain to be West Market, as I've said earlier.
And maybe also the court has maybe instructed you to give back to what you had taken from the hawkers when you are doing the operation. Have you already started giving or issuing back their property so far?
Okay, I want to say very clearly that we don't have a problem as a county government to hold any property belonging to any person. The law is very clear that Once we've confiscated your property, we are supposed to give it to you before the expiry of 24 hours. But we are waiting for the hawkers to come and claim their property. Some have come, and some have not come to collect their properties.
Thank you very much, sir, for talking to Citizen Extra. Thank you
you
very much. Wahiga Mwaura, those are some views from the county, and as you can clearly hear from the director here, the thing that that's really still sticking on is that they're only going to respect the court order if all hawkers are going to move to this market, because they are saying this also is a designated place of business where hawkers are supposed to be. And as he has put it clearly, that all like 700 hawkers have already moved to this market to start their business, but most of them also are saying that coming to West, they will not have their customers as they have been getting them in the CPD. So Wahiga is just a game of wait and see, and whether the court, the county government will be also following up to respect this court order or not is just a matter of wait and see, and time is the one that will come and tell whether this is going to happen, whether hawkers are going to remain in the CPD or not. Back to you, Mwaura.
Thank you so much for that, John Wanyama. Interesting intrigues there regarding the standoff between hawkers and the county government. And thank you for that report from Uasin Gishu County. Well, from Uasin Gishu, we take it to Nyeri County, where Martin Munene is on the location, I believe, where the Ruringo Stadium should be and where construction should be taking place. But he tells us that construction has stalled because of different views on what should happen to the power lines that are currently established or set up there. Martin, kindly give us the finer details.
A very good morning to you, Wahiga Mwaura, and like you said, we're coming to you live from Ruringo Stadium in Nyeri County. I'm actually standing at the center of the pitch that is actually being constructed here. But now what has been going on in this particular region is that this particular project, which is actually being undertaken by the national government at a cost of 250 million shillings, is actually risks actually not just being stalled, but the deadline risks actually just not only being surpassed because it already has. President Kenyatta on June 22nd, when he visited Nyeri on the campaign trail, he actually came here and he launched the construction of this particular project. And when he launched it, he said that in 6 months, that is by December last year, this particular stadium should have been completed, and the residents of Nyeri County will actually enjoy this facility. And this facility, Wahiga Mwaura, I must say, is expected to not only be just this particular stadium, it extends a little bit further, and it's expected that it will not only be just a running track and a stadium, but it's also expected to have a high altitude training facility, considering that Nyeri County is one of the areas that people actually come and practice. It has produced the the likes of Catherine Dereva and Wakihori. But now there's something happening in this particular field. I am standing in the middle of two power lines in this particular spot where I am. We've got lines of, power lines cutting across on one side, and also on the other side, slightly outside the particular pitch, we have got also another set of power lines. And now, according to the contractor who is in charge of this particular project, he says that Kenya Power should actually relocate these particular lines at their cost, because he says he does not understand how Kenya Power could have actually set up these particular power lines in this particular place, considering that this is actually a pitch, this was actually a stadium. But Kenya Power, on the other hand, says it is the responsibility of the contractor to actually foot the bill to actually remove these particular lines from the pitch to outside, relocating them at a cost of 1.4 million shillings. And now the tussle is who is going to foot that particular bill. And now, if you can see on my on the other side, there's some construction, a bit of it going on. You'll see heavy machinery actually working outside this particular pitch slightly. But the thing about this, the thing about this construction, Wahiga, is that in fact, if you can see right where that particular track is and where that particular heavy machinery is operating, next to it is a power line. And when I spoke to the contractor, he said that it's a risky thing, but this project has to go on, because now they're afraid that in this particular stadium, these lines could actually come down. If my cameraman can show you, Wahiga Mwaura, and the viewers on the other side, you'll see a particular pole that is actually just left in like an island of its of sorts, whereby excavation has been done around it, and now it stands alone. And now, according to the contractor, if this thing came down, and the next phase of this particular stadium involves putting another layer of soil, a moram, and then another layer of soil. And according to one of the people here, the heavy machinery will actually shake this place, and if that happens, these lines could come down. And so that cannot happen until these lines are actually moved. And so, Wahiga, the question that arises is, when are these lines going to be moved? Who between the contractor and Kenya Power is going to blink fast and just move these power lines so that the Nyeri residents in this particular region can actually enjoy a world-class stadium as promised by the Jubilee government? Wahiga, it is important that I say in the central region we do not have a world-class stadium, and so it is important that this particular stadium be completed on time. The Nyeri residents, like I said, expected to actually be enjoying this particular facility by now, because the promise by President Uhuru Kenyatta was that it is going to be completed in 6 months, when he said that was in June last year. And so by December we expected that at least the final touches will have been done, and so by now we expected to actually meet people here doing their thing. But now what we are finding here is that construction is going at a very, very slow pace, and so the contractor feels that his hands are tied. He cannot move on to the next level. But Kenya Power says they've already invoiced the contractor, and so what they want is money paid to them so that they can actually move.
That's right. Thank you, Martin Manene, for bringing those issues to light. I think it's now a wait-and-see game there. Who will blink first? Very interesting there, and of course very worrying that such a project that would bring such great benefit to that county would be stalled on what many would say is a very small issue. We hope that will be resolved quickly. Well, from Nyeri County now we take you to Kisumu County, where the High Court is about to rule on a petition against the county's woman rep, Rosa Buyu. The petition was filed by Grace Akumu, contesting the election of the woman rep on the 8th of August, and of course her declaration as the winner. Akumu wants the court to declare her the winner. She says these elections were marred by irregularities, and of course she vied on a citizen convention party ticket, and she is the petitioner in this matter. Let's listen in, even as I trust the judgment is being read at this very moment.
Election was conducted in a free and fair and democratic manner will not necessarily mean that the election was devoid of errors, mistakes, and irregularities. And the Supreme Court precisely announced itself on the issue. They say that it's clear to us that the election should be conducted substantially in accordance with the principles of the Constitution. Under Article 81, voting is to be conducted in accordance with the principles set out in Article 6. The Election Act and the Regulation of that pursue the substantive procedural law for the conduct of the election. If it should be shown that an election was conducted substantially in accordance with the principles of the Constitution of the election law, then such an election is not to be voted only on the grounds of irregularities. Therefore, not every compliance or every act of omission in breach of election regulations procedure that invalidates an election for being compliant with the law. And therefore, my finding on the first issue is that the petitioner has succeeded in establishing that there were irregularities in the election, which were committed by the petitioner herself through her agents who failed to sign the necessary particular reports, and also by the fact that one includes our committees in order to something and reports. The evidence of records from the governor is how the ways of the state irregularities are minor.
Well, we'll go back there as soon as she has concluded reading that ruling in the petition against Kisumu County Woman Rep Rosa Buyu. But let's now switch gears now and talk matters at Jamhuri High School. Yesterday, an all-out brawl at that Nairobi's Jamhuri High School left many students injured and has led to concerns over student safety. This school was closed down after rival groups of students clashed overnight, leaving at least 20 students nursing injuries. Witnesses say the fight was triggered by an alleged case of bullying, as one group claimed the school was discriminating against them on the basis of their religion. Hassan Mugambi now recaps yesterday's events at Jamhuri High School.
Officers attempt to calm down angry students of Jamhuri High School, Nairobi. This after hours of violent confrontations between rival groups of Christian and Muslim students. What is believed to be a culmination of disquiet over a raft of grievances which were apparently not addressed by the institution's administration. Shattered glass littered the school, classroom windows vandalized, books scattered. a clear indication of the magnitude of the brawl that first broke out Tuesday night after preps. This student being carried to the ambulance with a dislocated ankle joint is among 17 others who suffered minor injuries. 5 students were hospitalized in different hospitals with stab wounds. The Board of Management closing down the school till Monday to pave way for investigations.
We have had a meeting with the ministry officials, and we have decided, let us now get to the details to know why another student should be annoyed with one.
School Principal Fred Awor admitting the existence of the disquiet that divided students along religious lines.
There are small issues that we discussed, and the boarding master, the teachers have been looking at those issues. So we are aware of what has been happening, and I think we are going to be able to settle that one.
Students say the fight was triggered by a case of bullying which quickly degenerated into a Muslim-Christian confrontation. Parents have blamed the school's administration for the fluid discipline situation in the institution. The parents told of a communication breakdown between them and the school.
No teacher thought of being concerned of calling us to acknowledge us the problem going in the school. All these parents came here on their own, and we are all having the same problem.
The meeting that involved Regional Police Commander Jafet Kome resolved to give the students just minutes to vacate the institution.
With the students now home, an investigation launched. It is not until Monday, according to the administration, that we will know what exactly led to the ugly turn of events. Hassan Mugambi, Citizen TV.
Well, joining me in studio now to talk a little bit about what transpired yesterday at Jamhuri High, how the situation could have gotten to that, and of course what needs to be done to ensure it doesn't happen again, are 2 guests. Let me briefly introduce them. Sheikh Abdurrahman Ishaq, who is an imam at the Parklands Mosque. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And we also have Ken Aringo, an ordained minister, author and family therapist. Welcome as well.
My pleasure.
Great. First things first, what were your initial thoughts when you heard what happened yesterday at Jamhuri High School? I'm sure you were at different locations in the middle of your daily business, and then the news broke. Let me start with you, Sheikh.
All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thank you so much. Once again, I reiterate my thanks. It's an honor to be here. Seriously, you know, I always looked up to Jamhuri High School, and it is a school of a high caliber down the line, down the years. It was approximately 8 to 9 o'clock when I had the news on my mobile phone. It was really shocking. It was really shocking because every person, I have so many friends who are alumnus of Jamhuri High School, and they, all of them, have reached the heights of the corporate ladder. And all of a sudden you hear this thing, you know, and again you hear it's the Muslim and the non-Muslim conflict. Really shocking. And by the way, in fact, I never knew of a school which was more coexistent than Jamhuri High School. I have attended the rallies, I have attended the lectures in the assemblies that they do have on Fridays. So it was really shocking. It seems that something was simmering and boiling through days probably, or weeks, or years even. So it was really saddening when I saw this, and I took my phone, called people who were there at the place, and you know, they say that this thing is so strange. And in fact,
strange is the word they're using to describe what happened yesterday.
Yes,
okay,
exactly. What I think, you see, even what most the media houses did actually project and beam was something really not the case.
Okay.
Because it looks like, my contention is, it looks like this was nothing about religious or religion. It looks like it was something which is an individual case, God knows best, but coincidentally it happened that they happened to be people of both sides of the spectrum.
And that's how the clash eventually broke out. But that's not what caused it, from what we are hearing.
No. I don't think so that that's the actual cause. So you see, in fact, the question that I would love to throw at the desk of the administrative panel is, like, what is happening at Jamhuri High School? What is happening? This is something that has never happened throughout the years. It's a coexistent, a pluralistic school. Everyone looks up to Jamhuri High School. Everyone knows how Jamhuri High School is. This is something that has been boiling up, and it was not dealt well, and it ended up being...
And that's what we saw yesterday. Ken, let me get your thoughts as well.
Yeah. I think my first reaction, I was very much around that place yesterday, and honestly, I was like, is this really true? Like my brother says, what I strongly believe, there must be some misrepresentation of facts, but also we need to prod deeper. I'm glad that Sheikh actually mentioned that it could be beyond what we saw yesterday, could have been a simmering issue. And I also called some people within the area, and I strongly want to say there is an element of religion in it. But how do we tackle some of these things that we get an indicator, a red flag, and sometimes we look over? Statements we carelessly put out there as people in authority, and sometimes even our national psyche. And it's very sad. I talk a lot to young people. I'm a chaplain in a school. There is a lot of Muslims and Christians and Hindus. That I sit with every day with the different religions, and it amazes me how we coexist if there's an understanding that our purpose in life is sometimes not to be right, but to be understanding.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
And we can't all be the same.
Both of you really going into detail about how religion was not the cause of what we saw yesterday, but we cannot run away from talking about that.
Yes.
And we have had reports, again, not fully substantiated. We're still waiting for a report which we're told we'll get maybe next week, about abuse of worship time by students, where students say that they need to go and worship in their respective places of worship, they miss classes, they skip activities. Let's talk about coordination of activities in a school like that with people of different faiths. If students attempt to get away with things like that, how can an administration deal with those particular issues, especially because religion, very sensitive matter? And let me start with you, Sheikh.
Sir, that's a great point you've mentioned. The first arbitrators should be the administrative panel, the administrative board. Like, if we see what happened yesterday, and if we run through the media, the interviews of the students, you can easily understand what they're insinuating at. You know, the guy who slapped the other person, we cannot justify that act. But the fact that they went to the administration, the principal, and he just overlooked it,
or did not handle it.
We cannot say, exactly, we cannot ignore the religious aspect, but at the very inception, probably it was not a religious aspect. Ultimately, it happened to be a religious aspect, which is something very serious, because this is not something we have seen in Kenya. It's the first time that has happened in Kenya. Yes, it does happen in the West. They have panels and crisis management panels to deal with these issues. And if we need a harmonious Kenya down the future, then we really need to take tangible solutions to be imminently implemented in this country.
Okay, and Ken, for you?
What I can say, you asked, how can we avert, but also take care of each other's faiths in the midst of a heavy academic program?
And yes, exactly, fantastic, and bring a balance.
Exactly, bring a balance. Like I said, I'm a chaplain in a school where they're all faith. And something I've seen, I know that the particular faith wants to have the school hall, for example, at 1 o'clock. I remember an incident last week. I had a serious meeting, a Christian meeting with some friends who we needed to do something, a program for the school. And so we had to use a room that is used by this other faith. And how it was communicated was well in advance. 2 days, 3 days before, and the teacher in charge told, you will not use this facility because something else is happening, we'll move you to this place. So they don't feel disenfranchised, just being thrown about, and I could hear undertones of that in the Jamhuri case, whereby someone felt our issue is not being tackled, like I said, the board, are you feeling like someone is listening to our values, our faith, the fact what we want to do in that facility, and when we are moved, do they care that we need an alternative? So we must be very clear where there are different faiths, that every faith, every person feels dignified and understood, respected. Because when I feel like you're looking down on me, and perception of these guys are majority, because I could also hear that, majority minority issue, that comes up many times. Administration must be very clear that every faith is respected and allocate sufficient time and space for them to practice. But we must remember also our core mandate in a school.
And understanding of faith is very important. And of course, when you are in one faith, you might not have all the information to understand what happens in different faiths. How important is it for administrations across this country, which have very large populations of either faith, to include people of either a Muslim background or a Christian background in the administration, so that if such conflict was to break, then methods of mediating would be very quick, because you already have someone who understands grievances. Let's talk a bit about that, especially as we look towards solutions. What happens to Jamhuri moving forward?
Exactly. This is something very important, as the brother just projected very clearly. Like, first and foremost, let us make this point clear. There is no religion, heavenly religion, that promotes sectarianism, chauvinism, extremism, fanaticism, nothing like that. No religion at all. It can never happen of such. So it is upon us to understand. It is, look, Kenya is a multicultural, multi-religious country. We have mixed races, mixed backgrounds, mixed tribes, mixed religions from the inception of Kenya. And we have always lived in harmony. Why is it that a decade back all this is coming up? Is it that the religions just descended like 2 years back, 5 years back, 10 years back? Or is it like God updated the text? No, the texts are the same. You know, we are the ones who, like, you know, the evil in us, the devil in us has corrupted us. As the brother said, the respect in the institution should be there. And first and foremost, the thing of religious facilities or prayer facilities, they should be clever enough to understand that definitely we, you know, this is a school. They're youth in the prime, everything is brimming.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, the Prophet used to say, our Prophet used to say that الشباب شعبة من الجنون. Youth is a portion of madness. It's craziness, you know. They're never satisfied. It's complacency, and as Robin Sharma
is always at the back, at the back of your mind, never at the forefront.
And Robin Sharma says, he makes it clear, complacency kills, and this is actually what happened yesterday in Jamhuri.
Do you agree with
what
we saw at Jamhuri yesterday? Is separate facilities, separate toilets. We've also heard of reports that the library has been demarcated into sections.
Yeah.
Do you think that fosters unity? Does it help, you know, different faiths to express themselves, or could it eventually work against unity in such a school?
I think it should work. It should work. Out of respect, if they have the scope, they have the ability, why not separate them? Why not give these people a prayer room? Why not give this others? Because definitely, this is a youth, I said, again, they would definitely get to a point of tension that will break out. So, look, Jamhuri High School, by the way, let me make a point also clear here. Let me delineate this clearly. The issue, what has been mentioned of toilets, separate toilets, or them having a library, this has been over the years.
So it's nothing new?
No, it's the Muslims who initiated this. So even other tribes, other religious backgrounds, they can also initiate this. They should be given too. I don't find any wrong in that. But the fact that the administration overlooked all this is what actually caused this thing to reach its brim.
Okay. Ken, when you hear of an administration where some of the students, and we did hear reports even in other media houses, they say we keep going to the administration, we keep telling them we have an issue, they don't listen. What's your thought on that, as someone who has done a lot of high school ministry and also, you know, been a chaplain of several high schools?
I must say, Wahiga, that sometimes when people feel a sense of a blocked wall, I feel I've aired my view, I keep coming to you, and you are the one with the power in the place of authority to help me out. When they reach a point whereby they feel no one is hearing me, they'll look for other avenues to vent.
Exactly.
And that for me was my scare. And I must also just reiterate on the earlier point that it bothers me to think that we can pull apart and yet want to live together. Okay? So even though that, as my brother said, it has been there as a practice, if you have the facilities, well and good. But we know, honestly speaking, right now, the Kenyan education system, there are new things that are coming forth. Especially, I live in an environment of a school, and sometimes I see where they talk currently of boarding school having day scholars. I read in one of the media houses, or actually one of the dailies, that they suspect that the knives and stuff that came from out.
Came from day scholars.
That, for me, I confirmed. I've talked to someone who told me, honestly speaking, if we don't manage well the transition of having boarding and having day scholars into boarding facilities.
We know now about 90 national schools have received day scholars.
This will be a first indicator of a time bomb that you are waiting to happen. It bothers me that if we don't manage that process to synchronize how these guys seamlessly come in the morning, maybe more security, more checks, so that we do not have a case of knives in a school, because these guys have come from out. I was in a boarding school, for crying out loud. News from out was heavenly. I wanted to hear what has happened. You hear breaking news, you just wrong.
So the day scholars automatically take a higher position.
They come in and like, as we are ahead of, and as you said, these are teams. So they give you breaking news, the latest. And you have been there, you're enjoying school. Soon they start comparing each other. Hey, as we don't know. And then there's that feeling of, there's scholars coming in here, don't have money, as we can afford boarding. Because you see, we are trying to create an avenue for 100% admission to our secondary school. But the truth is this, teens compare each other. There's a stage whereby they want to weigh. In fact, they say, tunakucheki, trying to weigh who is heavier. Now, your uzito issue will be a problem. So
if not well managed,
let's
you
manage
see
this
a problem.
transition well, because we'll soon have contraband stuff from out into schools. We'll not manage the influx.
Check.
True. Definitely agreed. That's something so important. And you see, the thing is, like, the day scholars, of course, they would want to avenge. They have that that feeling, like, you know, like the Nairobi alumnus have something which is known as, what do they call it? People affiliated to a particular thing, and they have that unity. And every institute wants to have that unity. Everything has. If this case could have been dealt on an individual basis by the administrative panel, it would not have reached the point.
It wouldn't have reached where it is now.
Secondly, the most important thing is also, as the brother mentioned, I was talking to one of my friends who was an alumnus of Jamhuri High School, and he said that the prefects are over-empowered. In fact, he was a senior prefect. After 1 month, he dropped out. How is it acceptable? It's not even acceptable for the administration, according to our current conventional rules, constitutional rules, for a teacher to whip. How can a prefect have the authority to whip? What authority do you have over me?
Several factors. What I'm reading into this, several factors, day scholars, overpowered prefects, and an administration that doesn't listen could potentially lead to a bit of what we saw yesterday. Again, we don't have all the facts. But then there's another school of thought. There are those who are asking, are we teaching religious education in our schools, in our homes, the right way? I want to give you both a chance to respond, because I believe both of you have, on many occasions, taught religious education or taught your faith to students. Do we need to relook at how we are teaching religious education to young, impressionable youths?
I think definitely it needs to be revisited. We need to relook into this, and we need to revamp the methods, because times change. The methods that we used and the tactics that we used and the strategies we used 10 years back will not work today. We have a different generation. Generations have declined, they've degenerated. We are rotten, we have volatile conditions, precarious moments. So also the scholars, the clergies, the chaplains, the teachers, the educators. I hear about schools whereby the CRE is taught by a Muslim or the IRE is taught by a Christian. Now, how am I going to know how to swim if I've never seen the water? Do you understand? This is something serious. Like how you propagate the religion. You see, it's not about Islam, it's about us. It's not about Christianity, it's about us. How you look at it, how you take the text. It's not cherry picking. It's not like a cafeteria Quran which you cherry pick, or the Bible.
What you want, what you don't want.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you concord and misconstrue the meanings. This is very wrong. The chaplains, the imams, because look, this will be talked about everywhere. The barber shop, the marketplaces, the women, the wives, the parents, the teachers when they go back home. But when they come back, they converge in a place whereby all of them get together. A mosque, a church. It needs to be, they need to educate the people. And even the chaplains, the imam, and I always say this in my lectures, wherever I go. I always say this, that we need to be coexistent, we need to have respect. The Prophet whom we associate ourselves with was not of such. Was not of such at all. Was not of such at all, So these are things that we need to actually uplift ourselves.
Yes, and even as we talk about relooking them, Reverend, let me come to you as well. We've had a directive by Acting Education CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, that motivational speakers, religious speakers of all faiths need to be vetted before they can be allowed, to access these schools. Again, good idea or not?
I couldn't agree more on that one.
You couldn't agree more on that?
Yes,
because I guess you'll also be vetted, and both of you would be vetted as you want to access schools. Oh, you're looking forward to it? Go ahead.
I was in a school yesterday, as I mentioned, that is composing of almost all the faiths we are talking about, right in the neighborhood of the school we are talking about. And I was amazed at the leadership of the school. They don't have my kind of faith, but they call me to have a session with the whole school. I have done for the last 23 years, school ministry. I spoke in a national school every Thursday, like I said, Friday for Jamhuri, every Thursday for 8 years in this school, the school assembly, 7 minutes only. And I talked about character formation, values. Today I have Muslim friends, I have Hindu friends who we do stuff together. They reach out to me when they're stuck. I have Christian friends. Because of that 7 minutes character formation, values, I didn't go there to propagate, come to my faith, come to my denomination. But I know a human being is a human being. If someone is hurt, they will want to revenge. True. Someone who feels love, romance, a young person, they look for the opposite sex. So I talk about sexuality. I have written a book called The Software of Sex. I discovered that there are faiths who, honestly speaking, just being able to even reach out and say, these are issues I can struggle with, and have a forum whereby I know for sure. I feel so bad when someone stands on a podium to share out of their foolish ignorance, and they are saying it with conviction. It hurts. So we need to vet that the people who stand before communities like Jamhuri, the multifaceted whatever faiths, are able to know what underscores our basic as humanity.
Okay.
And so I think we must go deliberately and create forums, encourage forums of convergence, where these students can hear voices of reason, people who challenge them about how do I live in coexist, tolerate, compassion, know those basic etiquette. The Bible says in Proverbs 27:17, just as iron sharpens iron, so will a man sit with another man and sharpen their countenance. An academic institution is a place for being shaped, sharpened, and directed.
Okay.
Many times we do not need a finger that points at the falls, we need a hand that leads.
Fair enough.
Sheikh,
next week, Monday, Jamhuri students will need to report back to school. How can they learn to coexist again peacefully? You've seen images of the... Okay, so I'm just putting myself in the feet or shoes of a young boy there, maybe a Form 1. He saw a lot of scenes this week. How will he be able to look at people, talk to them again after everything that he saw?
Exactly. This is something very important. And by the way, just excuse the phrase and excuse the pun, as the English people say. If someone is emotionally demolished, and a person who is physically defeated, the person who is physically defeated, chances of him standing back on his feet are higher. And a person who is emotionally traumatized, he might never wake up from this. This is it's an emotional trauma, what has happened to the student. The tension is high till now. These people's fear probably they'll meet us in our streets or something would happen. They need to be talked to. They need motivational speakers to go there from both faiths. Broad minds, broad spectrums, broad hearts that they can accommodate both of them. They need to be educated on how they should be dealing with other faiths. You know, we at the end of the day, we all need to understand we are brothers in humanity. You know, the Quran explicitly mentions and it captures this so succinctly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have honored the sons of Adam. We are brothers in humanity. That comes first before everything. That comes first before everything. They need to know how we should deal with each other. And by the way, not only the administrative panel, also the parents should be involved in this.
Okay.
We could see the pictures there.
Administration, parents,
exactly,
need to come in.
And I think, I have seen this in the West, because this is happening in America on a daily basis. The governments have placed up crisis management panels and spectrums to deal with this. They should open a database whereby they record racial abuse, tribal abuse, religious abuse, and it should be dealt with that accordingly.
Fantastic.
Also, the parents should be told that. They should be involved. They should be told that, look, it's a matter of respect. We have coexisted. Why should we break this coexistence? Why should we break the rope? No.
And Reverend, for you?
I must say, Wahiga, that I was actually thinking about that question yesterday more than everything.
What needs to happen now from next week,
beyond
Monday?
Yesterday, yes. These guys have to come back to school, and they're not changing schools. Sadly, there are some parents who would change schools for their children.
Yes, that's
I noticed
clear.
what happened in school last year, where a big catastrophe. And I counseled with a parent who told me, after what I've seen, what my brother called emotional trauma, said, I would love to take this daughter back to this school, but I can't. Allow me, I'm out. So we must allow for that. But I would hate it for us to bury our head in the sand on Monday as these kids come back to school and have business as usual. No. We must be able to bring all the stakeholders into a forum where there are all religions, all faiths that are involved inside there, to be able to have sober, articulate people who are willing to able to share out and say, these are the issues. There's a lot of misreporting that has also happened. We must be able to face up the facts in a way, in an atmosphere, a conducive atmosphere that sends out a message of respect for all these issues. But also, we must be able to what do we do moving forward? Because these guys will have to live every day. But it's not a one-day thing. I must care to say that there must be an ongoing program at the school to bring these young people together.
Okay, wise words indeed from two gentlemen who found time to be here with me in studio. Sheikh Abdurrahman Ishaq, an Imam with the Parklands Mosque, and of course Reverend Ken Aringo, an ordained minister, author and family therapist. And of course we certainly wish quick healing and resolution to the issues that happened at Jamhuri High School that came to light yesterday. We also continue to monitor what is happening in Kisumu County, where the High Court has upheld the victory of Rosa Buyu, the woman rep of that particular county. Her petition or her victory had been challenged by Grace Akumu, who had filed a petition on the grounds that she says the elections were marred by irregularities. But nevertheless, the court has said that the victory of Rosa Buyu is valid and have upheld it. And they've just finished reading that judgment a couple of minutes ago at the Kisumu High Court. On that note, we take a quick break.